Hey guys, my guest tonight, Constance Victoria Briggs, and I will be talking about ETs and their links to Earth. I'll be right back. Grab your popcorn and snacks. Find a comfy spot, take a seat or lie down, and let me transport you to a place of fantasy, ghost stories, ancient legends, odd creatures, alien encounters, and other magical topics. You may even decide to join the conversation. From faraway lands to your own backyard, with a small dash of pixie dust, turn out the lights and open your minds. The journey is about to begin. Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing? I hope you said well, because I'm doing well. My name is Charlotte. I'm going to be your host for the next hour, and I hope the camera stays on, because it just disconnected on me, and I had to pop back in. Internet's been so wonky ever since the big storms and everything that it's kind of totally unpredictable, if it's going to stay on or how long. Anyway, I'm also the owner of the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team based out of Sacramento, California. We are 45 strong up and down the state, which means if you have a paranormal problem or you think you have a paranormal problem, we can get to you. It might take us a couple days because California is a huge state. But don't despair, because we will get you. And in the case that we can't get you right away, we do have mediums and psychics on staff who could phone you and talk to you about what may or may not be going on in your home or business. And if it is paranormal, they can settle the energy down until we can get out there. But it's never more than 1 or 2 days, because again, I have people up all over the state, 45 people, just up and down. And Oregon, Washington, Nevada, Hawaii. Okay. All right. Well, if you're watching from Facebook tonight, and a lot of you are, and you like what you see, please feel free to hit that follow button. We're always looking for followers. And same thing goes for YouTube. If you're watching from YouTube and you like what you see, please hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. We're trying to build up to that 1,000 subscriber number. We're getting there. We're definitely getting there. And I appreciate it. And again, if you like what you see, please leave us an emoji. Thumbs up, heart, smileys, things like that. Because what that does between Facebook and YouTube is it puts us out, and Facebook sees that, and the computers see that, and it puts us further out into the internet so that we're distributed to other people. More people. Same thing for YouTube. If you do that and you guys participate in the chat room, it helps a lot. It helps a lot to get them to distribute the video out. Okay. That being said, my guest tonight has been on before. Fascinating lady to talk to, Constance Victoria Briggs. And we're going to be talking about ETs and their link to Earth today. So it should be an interesting talk. All right. So without further ado, let me bring Constance in, and let's get caught up with her and get rolling on the show. Here we go. Hello.
Hi. It's nice to see you again.
It's good to see you.
I love your introduction, by the way. I love listening to you.
Yeah. Thank you. Tell everybody about you, because we have a lot of people to get to know you. So tell me about you.
Okay. So I am an author of metaphysical topics and galactic and cosmic subjects.
Oh, here we go with the internet. It's going to be one of those nights.
What?
Hang on 1 second, Constance. All right. Yeah, tell me about you.
Okay, so I'm an author. I started out writing about metaphysical topics, but these days I'm working on galactic and cosmic mysteries and history. What falls under that umbrella are extraterrestrials and UFOs, UAPs, etc.
So what got you interested in all that?
Okay, so the short story is I was always interested in life in outer space. I never doubted that we were alone in the universe. I did a lot of studying on the subject. As I was writing on my metaphysical books, I was also collecting stories for galactic books later, which I've done. And I've just always felt a connection to, or a pull to something else. And I wondered, just like everybody else, why are we here? Where did we come from? Etc.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to answer questions. I didn't want to be in the dark. But today I have found that more people are asking questions about what's going on out there in the
Mhm.
cosmos, and also what's going on Earth today with the stuff we're seeing in the skies and the UFOs and the UAPs and all of that. So I wanted to help get word out that no, we're not alone in the universe. I've researched it for years, and to help answer some of the questions people may have about the topic.
Absolutely. And tell me, is there? I mean, there's a lot of information about this topic. Some of it's probably erroneous. And in your research, what have you found that really stands out?
Wow, there's just so much. Charlotte, this new book that I have out, Earth's Galactic History and its Extraterrestrial Connection. I would say the most thing that stands out about that topic is that extraterrestrials have touched every part of this planet, that they're out there, we've been visited, and they've touched every area. And that's basically what the book is about. I've taken us on kind of a journey
Hmm.
from beginning, from when the extraterrestrials were visiting in our ancient past, all the way up to today.
Hmm. Now, I'm a big fan of Chariots of the Gods. Love the book. I still have it. And let's talk a little bit about it because, like you mentioned, the ancients. How frequent do you think that the extraterrestrials were here visiting the ancients?
So this is what's really interesting about the whole ancient astronaut thing is they clearly, Eric Van Doniken, as you said, documented all of this in his book.
Hmm.
They clearly were visiting us openly in the beginning. There are stories of what many cultures refer to as star people visiting Earth. It wasn't just one place on Earth, it was many cultures that
Hmm.
talked about different aspects. Now, we've got the native tribes, Native American tribes, that refer to them as star people, whereas across the seas, they refer to them as gods. But they all came from the stars in some sort of ship. And
Hmm.
in all the stories, they talk about the ships, they talk about them coming. But what was interesting is that they were interacting with humanity across the world, known world as it was back then.
Hmm.
They were living among us, they were educating us, they were, some of them were big. I mean, we've got pictures out of Egypt and other areas of these big beings, tall beings, much bigger
Hmm.
than us, interacting. The question is, why did they stop? Where did they go?
Right.
And why did they stop openly associating with us?
Well, that's one question that I've had. And I always thought maybe because maybe it's because back in the ancient times, our brains, I'm going to say our smarts, back then weren't as quite where they are now as far as our technology and our ability to comprehend what they are and who they are. Because back then they looked upon them as gods, whereas now we don't do that. What's your thoughts?
I think that's a good point. I think that that what you're saying is correct, but I think that also there's more to it than that. I
Mm-hmm.
think that once, and this is just my speculation, but once we reached a certain point, they withdrew. Now they withdrew either for us to watch us perhaps develop on our own,
Mm-hmm.
see where we would go as a global community, see where we would take it, see us develop. All right, and or there may have. I talk about this in my book. I believe that there are galactic hierarchies out there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that have a hand and a say in what's happening with civilizations in the galaxy and in us, and maybe they were told to cut it out or withdraw and let us develop on our own. And we're looking forward to a time now when they
Mm-hmm.
would start preparing us for contact.
Mm-hmm. Do you think they're here on this earth right now?
I'm sorry, do I think they're on the earth right now? You cut out for
Yeah.
a second.
Yeah. Do you think they're here on the earth right now?
I do believe that we are being visited. Now, I said that they They withdrew, and what I meant when I said that is by their mass presence.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that they stuck around quietly, out of sight, in the skies, observing us. But are they here? I think they're here, and I think there's different uh, different ones, different groups of them. I think that we've got extraterrestrials everywhere. Quite frankly, as crazy as that sounds, if
Mm-hmm.
you've got your hands into this research, like I do and others do,
Mm-hmm.
then you know that people are seeing things every single day and
Mm-hmm.
coming up with stories of things, extraterrestrials or aliens that they've seen
Mm-hmm.
um, accidentally, or UFOs. So they're here. And there's some people, it's rumored that they're here to observe us. It's also said that they would like to prepare us through our science fiction and our social media and our books for contact, and that some of them are very humanoid looking. That's what I've heard, and we wouldn't recognize them. But we've also got people like a Mr. Charles Hall, who has come forward. Many people have come forward, and he said he was working with extraterrestrials on a military base, and he called them the tall white.
Hmm.
And that was supposed to be, at that time, secret information, but eventually he's written a lot of books about it, and he's very credible. So, yes, I think they're here. I think that they are hidden. They're either hiding themselves, or maybe there's some working with the government. Maybe they're trying to give humankind technology. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
they've come in giving us upgrades, because there is thought that extraterrestrials help to create us. They may be trying to extend our lives. They may be seeing how we progress, and they just may be here for protection too, because in our universe it is good and bad. So
Mm-hmm.
they may be here as some kind of guardians as well.
Do you think now, with all the studies that they've done with us, all the abductions and everything that appears to be gene related and all that, do you think that they've been able to infiltrate even like outside those bases because they look so much more human now, so they're able to like maybe be your neighbor across the street?
Yeah, yeah. People don't really like to think about that sometimes, and then other people find it fascinating. If I liken it to that movie Jupiter Rising.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you saw it, but there were extraterrestrials with a home there. They were
Mm-hmm.
living in, I don't know, some residential area, and they were passing for human. You couldn't
Mm-hmm.
tell the difference. And from my studies of people that have had experiences with ETs, some of them pass for human. In my book, I list some of the groups that are well known to Earth, and some of them are very humanoid looking. You couldn't tell them apart. And there have been people who said, I could have sworn I saw a tall white. They looked human, but they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And you get these kind of stories. And then there are stories of others who had extraterrestrials approach them, and they weren't the gray alien looking
Mm-hmm.
beings that we see everywhere. They were approached by humanoid beings, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so they're here for whatever reason, and there could be 1,000 reasons for. I don't see you, Charlie, but I'll keep talking.
Yeah, yeah. Keep talking. Don't keep talking. I'm going to refresh my camera here, so keep going. I'll
Well,
be right back.
some of the reasons that they're thought to be visiting Earth. Um, One is they may be here for mining resources. There have been tales, for example, of extraterrestrials being seen extracting water from large bodies of water around Earth. There's the idea that they may be mining still for gold, which is a very ancient tale, that extraterrestrials came to Earth in ancient times for gold. They may be here for resources. What's also very interesting is if we have, and I believe we do, many civilizations out there in the universe, they could be traveling here for for knowledge,
Mhm.
for science,
Mhm.
like a field trip even. But they've been told, just like in Star Trek, about a prime directive. You can
Sure.
go, but you can't interfere. So there could be many reasons that they're coming here. They've been here though throughout history, and I talk about that in my new book. So.
Interesting. How long did it take you to research all this stuff? Because I mean, there's just so much out there. How were you able to pick and choose what you wanted to use?
Yeah, it wasn't easy. I mean, to me, my book is incomplete because there's still so much to put in there. But
Mhm.
I wanted to have a story, a few stories, a few accounts for every part of the earth. So if I could just tell you what's in it, if I
Sure.
don't, so I have a chapters on, human origins, where I talk about whether or not extraterrestrials had a hand in creating humanity. And I'm just going to go down real quick. And I
Mhm.
talk about extraterrestrials in our ancient past, extraterrestrials in the oceans, in the hollow earth, sign signals that they've sent us, extraterrestrials and the UFOs, stargates, wormholes,
Mhm.
extraterrestrials among us? Are they battling for Earth? I wanted to, and who encountered them in space? So I
Mhm.
wanted to just have, to answer your question, a well rounded view
Mhm.
to start people in understanding that they've been around and touched every area of our lives and our Earth since the beginning.
How fascinating. Do you think that maybe, like you say, there have been reports of them working on in hidden bases here on Earth or even off planet somewhere? But do you think that there's kind of like, with this whole disclosure thing that people are hoping for, that the government's kind of leery about it because, I mean, there's a majority of people like us who are
Mhm.
really into this stuff. And to
Yeah.
us, it'd be cool to go across the street and shake the hand of some alien, some half alien. But there's also that other group of people that have that fear. And you think that's why the government might be holding back?
So I think that there's two reasons that the government is holding back.
Uh-huh.
Um, Number one, back in the 60s, when we first started talking about going into space,
Hmm.
um, the NASA people, the space agency,
Yes.
had to have known that there was something going on because, I started this conversation with the moon.
Hmm.
And they had to have known because there were lights up there was movement up there was all kinds of things going on. And they asked a government agency before sending anyone out in space. They said,
Hmm.
what do we do? What do we do if they find someone? Because they knew
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
what do we do? So that brought us the Brookings report, which you
Hmm.
probably heard of, right? And in
Yes.
that report, I have that in my main book. Um, in that report, they said, don't tell the public. The public won't be able to handle it.
Hmm.
And so I really believe that they haven't changed that. I think they're still following that. I don't think anyone followed up on that. They're just using it as their law. Anyone
Hmm.
working for the space agency today still has to sign a non disclosure agreement.
Hmm.
They can't talk about this stuff because they're afraid of worrying people. That's one of the reasons. The other reason is, there just may be some uh, information that the government just doesn't want us to know. I mean,
Hmm.
they get a really bad rap, but they may have some information that they may want to use for defending our
Hmm.
country, and they don't want to share it with the other countries. That could be the one
Hmm.
and only reason for what they do. And for me, I feel like all of us, like you and I, have our different parts for this time, for this wheel that's turning. We have our
Hmm.
own role when it comes to disclosure or what we call first contact. Okay,
Hmm.
we all have our job. So my job is to disseminate information, to let people know we're not alone, to help them
Hmm.
understand the history, to collect the stories, to talk about it. And at some point, I'm going to write a book about my own experiences, but
Okay.
that's another show. you have the same kind of mission. You know, you've got a hand in this. So I think their hand, the government's hand, is to do their whole thing with whatever it is they've got going on,
Mhm.
whatever it is with disclosure, because they're just, to me, a separate entity. That doesn't stop us from understanding or believing that we're not alone in the universe and there's something else going on. That's our thing. I believe that whatever they've got going on, reverse engineering, spaceships or whatever,
Mhm.
okay, you know, I try to stay away from it and say, okay, that's their spike
Mhm.
in,
Mhm. Mhm.
in the whole wheel. So that may be a thing. I mean, all governments try to protect their countries. They don't
Right.
want to share something that may have to do with defense. I don't think that it's about not wanting to frighten us as
Mhm.
much as
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
But I do have to tell you one thing. I really think that the extraterrestrials may be calling a lot of the shots here.
It's
So
possible.
there was the shots of when we will know,
Mhm.
for sure, when they will come in and tell us as a global community that they're out there. So there was this gentleman. He was an Israeli general. He came out a couple of years ago and he wrote a book that talked about his life. He was decorated general. He was rich. He was old, and he said he could do whatever he wanted. And he said that we have people working on Mars with extraterrestrials. He wasn't supposed to tell it, but he told it anyway.
Right.
And he said that the extraterrestrials said we weren't ready to know.
Mhm.
All right. So, and not to tell us. So, from that statement and some other things, it seems to me that they are preparing us and they
Mhm.
will make that judgment as to when we're going to have open communication
Mhm. Mhm.
on a global scale with
Mhm.
them.
What comes to mind when we talk about this particular thing, as far as who's going to talk to who and when, I always think of the old Frankenstein movies, because humans are like that. I mean, if somebody finds out there's a couple extraterrestrials living on the corner and they become afraid, then the pitchforks are going to come out, and so are the torches, and they're going to be hunting them down. I mean, that's just human nature. So I agree with you in that. So the extraterrestrials are probably waiting for a point in which that's not going to happen. That's why we're getting fed this stuff in little chunks. It's not like we're getting these huge chunks of information about these ETs. We're getting small chunks at a time, so that everybody's being conditioned and being prepared for it.
Humanity is still, I agree, humanity is still a warring race of being, really. I mean,
Mhm.
we've got technology, but spiritually, it's not so much there. You know,
Mhm.
our focus here are on conflict still and
Mhm.
materialism, and things are not equal across the board, for
Right.
everybody. So, yeah, there's issues here and there's problems. But, here's something very interesting. There is a gentleman named Alex Collier who said that he is the ambassador for the group of extraterrestrials known as the Andromedans. And I was listening to him the other day. I believe he is a representative. I don't believe people are making this stuff up. All
Mhm.
right. And he's been out there a long time talking. And he said the Andromedan said, we, humanity, needs to grow up.
Mhm.
We need to do away with those weapons. We need to treat the earth differently. It's not going to be allowed for us to have a world war that's going to kill all the life here. They weren't the only ones that said that, by the way. The
Mhm.
extraterrestrials that visited Eisenhower, that are said to have visited Eisenhower,
Right.
said that too. But they said, if we don't change, if we don't grow up, there could be consequences for us. Now, what does that mean?
Mhm.
What does
Mhm.
that mean? How are they going to stop us? Well, one thing that he said is they may come earlier than expected or earlier than they planned
Mhm.
to let us know that they're out there because, in order to prevent us from such a thing as destroying
Mhm.
ourselves and life here. So they're watching. They're watching.
And let's think about this too. Let's think about the technology. We had to have gotten it from somewhere. I mean, let's face it, back in the 40s and 50s, we were just trudging along, and then there was a big surge. The late 60s, all up until the 80s. We got microwaves, we got all this stuff, stealth technology, and all these different things that they've been able to come up with. Rockets, even. Rockets to propel us to the moon or propel us into orbit.
Right.
And this is something that you can see it took years, but really, in the span of a century, it's the blink of an eye is when this stuff came up. So it had to be coming from somewhere.
Yeah, there is again, this is speculation that there are some ET scientists that actually have been working with humans and in these secret bases that we keep hearing about, giving technology upgrades, trying to extend our life, giving us knowledge of science and medicine that have helped us. I mean, that's all, like I said, speculation, but there is a rumor about that. And also, these more advanced extraterrestrials could, give us information through channeling and telepathy. Sometimes,
Yes.
When you have a thought, your thought isn't always your own. It could be coming from somewhere else. So some of the information could have been given to people and they thought it was their creation in science or technology or even music. But sometimes it's coming from somewhere else because they are able to do that. They are able to put thoughts in our head.
I think, and I don't remember what show it was, but I think Ancient Aliens did something on that, along that line, that the top scientists that have been creating stuff like stealth and whatnot, they felt there was some kind of connection to the aliens, that they were in communication with the aliens if they weren't part alien themselves.
Right. Okay, I didn't see that episode. Actually haven't seen a whole lot of the episodes. But yeah, no, I mean that could be a thing, and there could be, we're talking about getting into people that are a cross between human and ETs that have come in here, bringing knowledge. People who claim they are walk-ins, who came from the other side in with information. Who knows how they could be giving information to us in an effort to help us.
And like you said, they're giving us, I think, like you say, they're allowing us to get this technology, but they also want to see what we're going to do with it. Are we going to behave ourselves? And like you say, are we going to start other wars and use it to end the wars? Or what are we going to do? And I think, and I agree with you that that's what they're doing. And whatever consequences they're talking about, who knows what they're talking about, punishing us or whatever, for using this stuff the wrong way. But I do believe, like you do, I do believe they're keeping an eye on us to see what we're going to do with what they're giving us.
I do too. And also, I wanted to address your comment about people with pitchforks going after them.
Yeah.
I think some of that may be just misinformation out of Hollywood. I think Hollywood scares people in many different ways, and I think as much as I believe the extraterrestrials may be trying to educate us, and they have succeeded in some media, there are others who are portraying the whole idea of there being extraterrestrials out there in a very negative light.
Right.
And I think that people need to understand that if they wanted to, we'd be gone. We'd all be slaves. We're talking about beings in various stages of life and different groups of extraterrestrials. So whereas we're new to the idea of going into space and we're working towards that, there could be civilizations that are hundreds and then thousands, others thousands, millions, billions of years ahead of us already. And if they wanted to, they could have just, come in here and done and swooped down and done their thing. Now, I said that there were extraterrestrials out there that are trying to protect us. People don't have gotten annoyed with me for saying that. They want to only hear the negative because there have been some negative things happen. I honestly believe there are extraterrestrials that are ignoring a rule and coming in anyway and doing their thing. That could be be the case. That could be a thing. But so Gene Roddenberry, I
My
have
favorite.
yeah, I got to tell you my Gene Roddenberry story because it's one of my favorites. So Gene Roddenberry was known to have been on sitting in on channeling sessions with a woman who said that she was channeling extraterrestrials that were in Earth's vicinity on a large ship, and they were on missions of peace. All right, that their crew was made up of different races from different places. All right, now they are out there, according to her, and the reason that we have Star Trek today is because it's thought that Gene Roddenberry used that information to create Star Trek,
Mm-hmm.
all right, and some scripts, and that is one way that we've been educated into accepting the idea that there are extraterrestrials out there.
Absolutely.
This series he created, as crazy as it is, and this might drive some scientists nuts to hear me say they're using sci-fi to prove they're extraterrestrials, but that would be a logical way to do it if you wanted to reach masses of people, which he
Right.
has
Right.
done, and which people are more open. But it's interesting to see that those were the good guys.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now we have been told that, or at least there have been some stories in the news in the past that there were asteroids heading towards Earth, and they kind of veered off. Have you ever seen an asteroid hitting Earth since you've been alive? They
No.
kind of were pushed to the side, or a meteor or whatever. They pushed it. It looked like they were pushed to the side.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we've had UFOs around military installations
Mm-hmm.
where the missiles were disarmed. Somebody's doing that. Could it be the same crew that Gene Roddenberry was talking about? Is there the Ashtar Command or the Galactic Federation?
Mm-hmm.
That gentleman that was Israeli talked about the people being on Mars. He
Mm-hmm.
said he called them the Galactic Federation. All right, and I had heard that name many years ago, and I was shocked to hear that coming from mainstream TV. So my
Mm-hmm.
point is, I don't think we need to get out, pitchforks and all of this stuff,
Right.
because they are benevolent beings
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
here, and I think Earth is under their protection for now, until we get to the point where we can fend for ourselves. And that would make absolutely sense for there to be a federation in the galaxy for new civilizations that still are not able to protect themselves from the advanced ones to
Mm-hmm.
be, kind of watching over us. So,
Well, I would think, and I know there's a lot of talk about the reptilians,
mhm.
not being not so nice, but I would think it's like with any other society. You got all these alien societies out there. You have to have the good with the bad to create that balance in the universe. And so I would think, like with the aliens, it's like anything else. You've got good aliens, and you've got not so nice aliens out there. And like you say, perhaps it's the good aliens that are here that are protecting us right now till like you say, till we get our technology up to a certain part, extent to where these bad aliens can't come in and take over. It's a fine balance.
I think so. I think that's what's going on. And the fact that there are said to be federations and
Mm-hmm.
galactic hierarchies out there makes perfect sense. I mean, we have something similar here on Earth, although it doesn't always work. We have governments trying to keep things in order, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why not out there? Why not have someone out there that is trying to keep the peace in the galaxy? Now, why would they try to keep the peace in the galaxy? Because there have been wars out there in the past.
Mm-hmm.
They had to go through growing pains and experiences as well. And it looks like they've gotten to the point, many of them, where they've got it together and somebody is running things. I believe also, talking about running things,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't mind me talking about the what I call the cosmic freeway.
Mhm.
Since
Go
we're
ahead.
talking about, yeah, since we're talking about people controlling things out there and watching, I say that we cannot be visited on Earth. SETI SETI is still looking for contact. They're still looking for stuff. All right. They're saying nothing can come across, all of those miles. It takes thousands of years to go from point A to point B in the universe. That can't be a thing. We can't be visited. However, we're being visited.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Even our government is talking about us being visited and trying to figure out who the heck it is, what the heck it is. So it is a thing. So how's it happening? They're using what I call the cosmic freeway. They have apparently have the technology to utilize wormholes and stargates, or
Mm-hmm.
you can say portals.
Right.
And
Right.
this technology, however they're doing it, is not something that we haven't talked about.
Mm-hmm.
The space agency on their website talks about a time where maybe we'll be able to use wormholes. Of course, we don't understand the technology that's way in the future, but at least they're talking about it. All right.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to figure it out. And some of them are saying, oh, it can never happen if you need too much energy and all
Mm-hmm.
of this. But if you've got advanced beings that are that far ahead of us out there, it is not surprising that they've worked out that kind of technology where they can use something like wormholes and stargates. And stargates, again, Stargates, it was a series, and it
Mm-hmm.
did introduce us to the idea of people being able to travel across the galaxy and the universe. But I wanted to go back and say that in ancient times, here on Earth, people were talking about portals or stargates. I don't know what words they were using, but there were doors. They used doors. They would say that the gods would come in and out of these doors. All right. And they were located in different parts of the earth. So, and they weren't flying through them always, they were walking through them. So this technology has been out there and it's been around, and I believe that there is someone out there that is in charge of that too, that is controlling that cosmic freeway. I don't think it's just willy-nilly out there for, people to use. So that, if you're wondering how they traversed all of those miles, I think that they have some kind of technology like that.
That's interesting that you say that because, and I don't know if this woman had seen a ghost in her front yard, or maybe it was an alien. But I got in Placerville one time. I was visiting this lady, and she told me a story about one of her friends. And the lady had been sitting out front in her yard, daylight, and she saw this being, and she didn't recognize it, as a human. But she saw this being walk across her lawn, and it stepped up like it was going, up on stairs,
Yeah.
and it looked like a door opened, and it walked right through and disappeared. So it's funny that you say that.
Well, you know what? I don't believe everything that we see out there is a ghost, by the way. People call everything a ghost they can't explain. Everything's not a ghost.
Right, right.
There are beings walking around here that are invisible, they are ethereal, and they're
Mm-hmm,
not a ghost. When something moves, sometimes you may have a relative that is on the other side trying to get your
mm-hmm,
attention, yes, but it's not always. So, yeah, she could have seen someone entering a portal
mm-hmm.
that opened up and they crossed over into another dimension or another world
And
or
that's
another
another, and
world.
that's another thought I've had. Ever since I was reading the incident in the Mojave, that book, the Mojave incident, about that couple that got abducted in the Mojave Desert, came home and they still had things happening. It's interesting because when you look at paranormal ghost cases and you look at what happened to these people, it's the same thing. Where they talk about the room getting really cold and they can see the aliens walking through the walls and the levitations and all this going on. And as a paranormal investigator, that really made me wonder whether I was investigating ghosts or whether what we're actually talking to on these EVPs aren't aliens. Because when you get the EVPs, a lot of the times, unless it's a Class A and it's right there, they are so far away. And sometimes they're even mechanical sounding, like you're going across dimensions. So that really got me to wondering about all that.
Isn't that something? And you
Mhm,
know what else? There's been incidents from people on the other side using a telephone. You know, if they
mhm.
can use a telephone to call us, right?
Uh-huh.
Um, I don't know if you've ever gotten anyone from the other side doing it, but we've heard of it. I would think that extraterrestrials would be able to, with advanced technology, would be able to do the same thing. So
Absolutely.
yeah, no, you're all not always dealing with the ghost. And you
And
could also, just as a side note, not even always extraterrestrials. There are beings here that I believe that are from Earth that we cannot see.
okay, that
Okay,
makes sense. Yep.
when you're looking at all of the stories of the goblins or stories of elves and stories of brownies,
Mhm,
and I knew someone who saw a little brownie guy about 12 feet tall once. The lady was as sane as anybody else, and she told me this story.
mhm,
And so I think that there are also beings on the earth besides ourselves and the animals and
mhm,
insects that we can see. I think there are some that we can't see too,
mhm,
that
mhm,
can manifest. Those also could be some that may be on the EVPs.
mhm. Absolutely, I agree with that, and that's why when I go out now to do an investigation, I try to look at it twofold. I look at it, okay, maybe this is a ghost, but maybe this might be an alien or some other type of being, that's out there. Because it's just so close. Like when you read their description and you read the description of what paranormal investigators are getting when they're out in the field, it's just it's just really tight like that. It's that
I,
close.
I'm so glad that you know that and have that attitude, because a lot of people don't. A lot of investigators aren't there yet
Hmm.
mentally. What they're
Hmm.
thinking, they're not there thinking, okay, it could be an ET that's bothering these people. It could be something else from out there.
And I've also talked with people that have been abducted and taken aboard ships, and they talk about the holograms. And they talk about one gentleman even said that his deceased aunt was there, but it was a hologram. And maybe that's what we're saying. Maybe it's going to turn out all this ghost hunting we all do, and all this stuff. It turns out it's the aliens that are here. That's how they're keeping a close eye on all of us. That they come in as a hologram of our relative. Who knows? But I'm just saying is that there's a lot of reports of people who are taken aboard and they see deceased family members, on the ships.
Well, are they interacting, Charlotte, with the deceased family members? Or have they ever talked about talking with them?
Yeah, they've
Hmm.
talked with them. And there's also the women, if you know the story about the women that have gotten pregnant on these ships, and it's because they get up there and there's this beautiful man standing there, like a Nordic, real gorgeous guy standing there to mate with them, to create these hybrid babies. So I mean, it's happening all the time when people get abducted.
Could it be? Could it be too? And I'm just going to throw this out there. You guys can
That's what
tell
we're
me.
doing tonight. We're throwing things out tonight, which is fascinating.
Could it be that a lot of us are extraterrestrials that have come down here and then we're
Mm-hmm.
going off planet while we sleep?
Mm-hmm.
Could that be a thing? Could our relatives actually have come in here and died and then returned to, a ship or a planet or a
Right.
different, is heaven an ET world?
Right, right, exactly. Or our DNA. Even I mean, I've had people on the show who have claimed that we all have alien DNA in us also. So I
Hmm.
mean, the possibilities are endless.
So while we're here, we, may not be able to remember who we are or why
Hmm.
we came. And then when some of us leave, we're returning back to a ship. When others
Right,
leave,
right.
we're returning to a world. Depending on where the soul level is. I was told by a lady once that was a channeler and a medium that I was
Hmm.
from Sirius, the
Hmm.
planet Sirius. And when I asked
That's
her, well,
cool.
why did I come to Sirius? She said, the soul has to go somewhere. I mean, why did I come to Earth? She said, the soul has to go somewhere.
Right,
There
right.
was a war. She said there was a war out there, and you came here. So, if that's true, there are many people here who think that they are souls that came from heaven and they're going to go
Hmm.
back and they're kind of in the clouds or whatever, when
Hmm.
in all actuality, they may have come in from another world
Yes.
to experience life on Earth and then go back there. And then
Right.
after that, there's even another. you leave that world and go back. I mean, it gets
Mhm.
really complex.
It does get complex, and I guess we're never going to know until there's disclosure. We can actually have a one-on-one with, whoever's calling the shots on the alien side.
Yeah, so I think we have so many questions as a
Mhm.
species about where we came from. And I think that a lot of information has come out. And I think that we're getting closer and we do have some answers. All right.
Mhm.
But I
Mhm.
do think that in the beginning, we may have had the answers and the answers may have been lost
Mhm.
or hidden. We've got all of these sacred books from so many different religions around the world that things got confused.
Mhm.
We had the Library of Alexandria that had just all kinds of books and information and records. It could have been there before that library was destroyed. I talk about that in my book.
Right.
They had a lot of information. But I think that one day, you're right, after disclosure, there's someone out there that knows all of the answers, and they
Mhm.
may be able to give it to us, to humanity. Now, there is a theory, and I don't know that I agree with this. They're saying that reincarnation is because, we came here and then we kind of got stuck and we keep going into this cycle, and that some have come in here to try to rescue us and wake us up and get us out. That would be a really interesting thing, because
Mhm.
that would explain something that, why we come in here in the first. They say it's for experience, but it could be a rescue mission.
Absolutely. This is so fascinating for me. I mean, this is a fascinating topic, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And to look at the research that you've done and delving into this, I'm very impressed because you've been able to do this. Has it been hard to find this information?
Well, the information, it's been many years. I collect information. I have files and files that I just throw information in case I need it sometime. I,
Mhm.
I don't feel like it's been hard for me because that's kind of all I do these days. No, I don't think it's been too hard. I mean, it requires a lot of research,
Mhm.
but it's out there, and I think that because of the way the world is with the technology today, we have
Mhm.
more information available to us. It's easier to get it, to get to it. So.
Well, have you found that anybody has blocked you from trying to get the information? Because I know I've talked to people that do research like you do, and they find themselves kind of running up against these mysterious roadblocks where they'll have something on their computer and then it gets zapped out or it disappears. Have you run into anything like that?
Not yet.
Okay.
No, not yet. I've been okay. I honestly, I believe we all have, guides around us and
Mm-hmm.
working with us. And I think some of it is their help and their guidance, and I feel like they're giving me downloads sometimes. But no, I haven't run across anything being deleted yet or
Mm-hmm.
wrote. Thank goodness, and I hope that it doesn't. That I don't. Um, yeah. So, um, do you mind if I talk about signs and signals? Because we're going to run out
Go
of time.
for it. Go
I want to
for it.
get. So
Yep.
one of my chapters is titled "We Are Not Alone."
Mm-hmm.
Signs, signals, messages, and clues. And I
Mm-hmm.
just want to tell everybody that we have actually received some uh, information from extraterrestrials. Well, we have across the board. There's many different ones that have, but there's some really interesting things that came up with the crop circles. Now, I've had people tell me they don't believe crop circles are real. I don't know what they're talking about when you've got things appearing overnight that are the size of several football stadiums or
Mm-hmm.
fields
Mm-hmm.
connected. I don't know how they think that came up overnight, but okay. These are little things. They're not just the size of a house. They're
Mm-hmm.
huge. But anyway, so one of my favorite story, and it's not something that was hard to find, but I have to tell you that when I first saw this, I didn't believe it, and I passed over it several times in my, excuse me, my light's gonna fall. Sorry, several times several times in my life I passed over this story, and eventually it came to light. So there is a crop circle, and the name of it is the Crabwood Crop Circle.
Okay.
This thing is a two-piece, we'll say crop formation, because they're not even circles anymore, right? They've changed
Mhm.
shapes or formations. This was a two-fold crop formation, guys. And one of them is a picture of an alien, all right? He looked very close to like a gray alien, but not exact, but very close to one. And there's all types of those. So
Mhm.
people will look at it and say, okay, it looks like a gray. I think it's slightly different. But it's a huge head with a face, right?
Mhm.
True story. Now, next to him is a separate circle. It's a circle in the shape of a disc. Have you seen this, Charlotte?
I have seen them. Yeah, I've seen those photos.
It's in the shape of a disc, and I thought it was a hoax when I first saw it. I
Right.
can't tell you how many times I went past that thing. So, oh, somebody put that up, forget it. It wasn't a hoax. It was studied. There was a documentary written on it. Excuse me. And the scientists were able to decode what was being said in the disc. And I'm going
Mhm.
to read it to you.
Okay.
The aliens told us, beware the bearers of false gifts and their broken promises. Much pain, but still time. There is good out there. We oppose deception. This was in 2002.
Mhm.
Now, we don't know who they were talking about,
Mhm.
but they were able to use the crop fields as a billboard to give us a warning. And it could be that they're warning us against other extraterrestrials, because we know that that story of Eisenhower, where
Right.
extraterrestrials came in and said, basically, we want to cut this deal with you,
Mhm.
and it wasn't a good deal. Um, it could have been them, or it could be someone in the future. But the point is, we have received messages from them. Some that can talk to us via telepathy,
Mhm.
some that apparently can speak language in
Mhm.
English, because I've got a story in my book about that, where they were talking to an individual in Britain
Mhm.
using English, and one of them I think was speaking Spanish, so they
Mhm.
can learn to talk. All right, but these guys, maybe they can't, land the crop circle extraterrestrials, because the
Mhm.
crop circles have been seen. There have been balls of light making these formations. That's been recorded and seen
Mhm.
and documented. So maybe they can't land, but they sure got that message across. So
Mhm.
you should, know that we do get signals and signs from them. There's one in my book where the CIA declassified something that was decoded. There's another crop circle too, where the extraterrestrials wrote about their makeup, what they're made of, how many people live on their planet. We've gotten messages, and I find that that's very interesting anyway.
That is interesting. No, it's fascinating. That's absolutely fascinating. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, because I've seen the photos of those, and it's just absolutely incredible
So
when
yeah,
you think
so
about it.
here's homework for your audience. Look at the crab. Go online and look up the crabwood crop circle,
Yes.
and go to images. Google Images. Oh my God, it's real. They did a documentary on it. A lady was walking through this thing. It didn't pop up through men with wheelbarrows.
Right.
um, and, and another thing, can I talk about the oceans, Charlotte?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead. Go ahead. Be
So,
my guest.
okay. So guys, we have UFOs and we have USOs,
Okay.
underwater submerged objects. And I want to let you know that is a real thing. And it's been going on throughout history. One
Mhm.
of the first people I have in my book that experienced it was Christopher Columbus. He talked about seeing USOs, which he did not call them that, of course. He
Mhm.
didn't
Mhm.
know anything about it. But he saw them go into the water, he and
Yes.
his team, all right? People are seeing them today, and the thought is basically that there are extraterrestrials living in the deep bodies of water on Earth. The Navy has seen them on radar. There was one lady who came forward who told a story, an amazing story, where she said she was with a team who were looking at beached whales,
Mm-hmm.
and it looked like the meat of the whales had been extracted. So they brought in uh, equipment to scour the ocean and look. And she said they did see some beings down there, and they were there in our deepest oceans. And she said they have a habitat, they've got weaponry, they've got vehicles. And she is, I know the reason I believe her, because some people are saying, oh, no, that's the
Mm-hmm.
craziest thing I have ever heard. But
Mm-hmm.
guys, there are the Russians who have declassified a lot of their UFO files.
Mm-hmm.
Half of them had USOs, and they talk about the Russian Navy people, men, doing training and running into extraterrestrials in the deep ocean. And they tried to capture them, and they were fired on, and two of them died. Three of them were injured. That's a story that the Russians have declassified. So that's why I'm all over for this woman's story, because we have a government that declassified that story. It's a well-known story.
Right.
If you yeah, so
Absolutely. And let's see. UFOs have been seen off the coast. Yeah, off the coast of Malibu, Marisa. One, one of our observers tonight. Yeah, in fact, not only are they off the coast of Malibu, but Mary Joyce was on a few days ago. We were talking about that underwater base that where she thinks there's a base underneath there, an alien base. And like Marisa just said, yeah, there's been reports of UFOs being seen going underwater in Malibu. That's about where all that is. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I've got some places in the book, some where they're thought to be bases around the world. You know, if you get a chance to look it up, maybe your library has it. I'm not going to say
Maybe.
what, but
I
my
love your book. I love your book.
library has it. Sorry.
It's one of those books I keep going back over and over on. Your book. I love your book.
Oh, thank you,
I
thank
love it to
you.
death. You know, it's always fun to have you on, and we get into some really lively conversations when we're on the air together, and I really appreciate you coming.
Thank you for having me. I love coming on. I love you, Charlotte.
Thank you. I love you too, Constance. How can people find you?
My books are on Amazon. I'm on Facebook. Constance Victoria Briggs. I have a page, and I have Galactic Briggs on Instagram, which is just going up. So you can look at me up there. I'll be posting.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you
Wait,
again.
wait.
Huh?
I also have a website, but I have a
Oh,
website.
I forgot. Go ahead. Go
Constance
ahead.
Victoria Briggs is my website.
Okay.
ConstanceVictoriaBriggs.com. You can email me through that.
Okay. My bad. Bad host. Bad.
Sorry.
Bad host. I get ahead of myself. We'll have to get you back on again because it's so fun to talk with you and have you on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, Constance, have a great one.
Thank you. You too. Bye,
Okay,
everybody.
bye. It is so fun to have her on and talk with her about this stuff. Her book is terrific. If you guys get a chance to buy it, I encourage you to buy it. Really good stuff in there. All right, tomorrow's Casual Friday with Medium Nancy Matz. And in the line of it being Valentine's Day, we're going to be talking about do you believe that you've met the love of your life? So we're going to be talking about that stuff. So, I'm sorry. My bad. My bad. Do you believe in love at first sight? That's what I get for not reading my thing right. Do you believe in love at first sight with me and Nancy Matz? Also, a quick change is Monday, Nancy's going to be with us as well, talking about twin flames. So we're trying to kind of stack up for Valentine's Day stuff, all right? And be on the lookout next Wednesday, which is Valentine's Day, because I'm going to be building. We're going to be over in the other studio. We're going to have a fun night, and I'm going to be building a Valentine's gingerbread house. So be on the lookout for that. Anyway, I will see you guys tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. Pacific. And I hope you enjoyed this show as much as I did. It's always fun to talk to Constance. So I will see you tomorrow, and Have a great evening, everybody. Bye.